The 5-1 Chicago Bears get another tough test as they face Jared Goff and the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football. What's up, guys? I'm back with the Chicago Bears weekly prediction videos. This time we got a Week 7 matchup against the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football on primetime television in front of the whole world. We have a chance to really make a name for ourselves still, okay? Because even though we are 5-1 at this point, okay, number 2 in the NFC, nobody is still taking us seriously, okay? Because people don't like to see dominant defenses in the NFL anymore, okay? Take a look at a team like the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks, they're number 1 on practically everybody's power rankings. You know, everybody is saying, oh, Russell Wilson, this team, they're gonna go to the Super Bowl, they're gonna do great things. If you look at that team's defense, they have the worst defense in the NFL by yardage, by like a lot of other measures, but nobody is talking about that because they have a great offense, okay? So even though they are undefeated, they have a good team, they have a major fatal flaw on their team, which is their defense, which is going to hurt them down the road, but nobody wants to talk about that like they want to talk about our weakness, the Chicago Bears weakness, which is our offense, which I really do not understand, okay? I know all the rules in the NFL, they favor offenses, so maybe to some extent, it is better to have a great offense than to have only a great defense, but guys, we are up there with the Seattle Seahawks, okay? We're 5-1, winning all these games due to our dominant defense, but nobody wants to give us anywhere close to the same amount of respect as they're giving to the Seattle Seahawks. So, guys, to go into a game like this against the Los Angeles Rams, another team with a winning record, a team with a very good defense on primetime television, we have a great opportunity to, really show the world what the Chicago Bears are truly made of and prove to them that we can actually win these games against other winning teams and that we should be, in the top of like a lot of people's power rankings. Even though power rankings don't really matter, we got to start getting this respect, and that starts with getting a big win here on Monday Night Football. Now, guys, this Rams team is not unbeatable at all, okay? Even though they are 4-2, even though they have a winning record near the top of the NFC, if you look at this team's wins, guys, it's all against the NFC East. All 4 of their wins come against Washington, Dallas, Philadelphia, and New York. Is that anything to be proud of? No, not at all, okay? The NFC East is by far the worst division, maybe in NFL history. So to get these wins over the NFC East, it really does not mean anything. Now, I'm not going to try to disrespect this team in any way because they still have a lot of talent on both offense and on defense. And at the end of the day, to win games, it is hard to do in the NFL. So we're not going to act like it doesn't mean anything. But this is not some completely powerful, unbeatable team like the odds makers in Vegas think it is, okay? Because the Bears are like 6-point underdogs against the Rams. I mean, are you kidding me? This team doesn't have a single good win, and we're underdogs by that much? Doesn't make the most sense to me, but hey, I'll take the odds, okay? I'm gonna put like 100, 200 on the Bears. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me in the butt, because I have been losing a lot of bets lately, so, if you're gonna bet on this game, bet responsibly. It still could go either way because it is the NFL. Anything crazy could happen, and it's still a tough team, so it's not going to be a guaranteed victory for the Chicago Bears. But if I look at how the Bears have done against specifically Jared Goff in the last 2 matchups, they have thoroughly dominated Jared Goff over the past 2 years, okay? Jared Goff, in 2 games against the Bears, he has a 50% completion rating. He's passed for 353 total passing yards. He has 0 passing touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a passer rating of 44.5. Those are disgusting numbers, okay? I have a theory also that ever since that 2018 game where we, forced him to throw 4 interceptions and completely ruined his season pretty much, he's not been the same since then. Obviously, that's probably not true, but hey, that's a theory, okay? Because ever since that game, it seems like Jared Goff has just not been the same quarterback. He hasn't been as confident, hasn't been passing for that much, even though he does have pretty decent numbers this year. I still think he's not like the same MVP level guy he was back in 2018. But whatever the case is, man, this Bears defense knows how to play against Jared Goff. Now, the only worry I have in this game, though, is going to be the Bears offense, okay? Can the Bears offense put up enough points to sneak by in this game against a really tough defense? Speaking about the defense, let me break down some numbers for you guys, kind of give you guys, the stats in regard to the Rams defense, that is. So the Rams defense right now, it's number 4 in yards allowed. They allow 318.5 yards per game. They're number 5 in points allowed. They allow 19 points per game. They're the number 4 passing defense and number 11 run defense. Now, one important stat though is that in net yards per pass attempt, they're actually number 1 in the NFL. So net yards per pass attempt, that includes like stuff like sacks too. So if you sack the quarterback, that goes against your net passing yards. And in that stat, they only allow 5.4 net yards per passing attempt. So, I mean, that just shows you like how amazing their pass defense actually has been. They're number 5 in sacks in the NFL. They have 20. And they're number 6 on third down. So they only allow third down to be converted 35.6% of the time. When I look at this Rams defense, the one thing that really stands out to me is that they have a pretty dominant pass rush, mainly because of one man. And they also have, cornerbacks and safeties that can cover at a really high and elite level. Okay, if I look at the pass rush, first of all, like I said, I mean, it's mostly Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald has most of their sacks. He has 7.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 14 QB hits, 36 pressures. I mean, this dude is just completely unstoppable. He's probably the best defensive player in the NFL by like a lot of different measures. But the thing is though, guys, is that if you can properly contain Aaron Donald, the rest of the front seven really cannot have much success like we saw last weekend against the 49ers. Okay, against the 49ers, not a single player on defense for the Rams had a sack or even a quarterback pressure. Okay, not even a single pressure for an entire 60 minutes of football. The Rams pass rush was nowhere to be found because they doubled up Aaron Donald for the entire game, and they really took him out of the game, and nobody else was able to win their one-on-one matchups. Okay, Brockers couldn't win his matchup. Leonard Floyd, our old friend, he could not win his matchups. The other guys on that D-line, nobody could win their matchups because, Aaron Donald was not really doing much of anything. So that really shows you like how one-dimensional this Rams pass rush actually is. And it shows you that if you can take Aaron Donald out somehow, which is a really hard thing to do, keep in mind, like Aaron Donald, one of the most physically imposing, scary players on defense in the NFL. It's going to be hard to take him out. But if you can do that, the rest of the pass rush really does not scare me that much. Okay, Leonard Floyd does have 2 sacks. Troy Reeder, their inside linebacker, has 3 sacks. So they are getting some pass rush from interior linebackers too. Brockers has 2 sacks too. But, overall, this is mainly a one-man wrecking crew in Aaron Donald. Now, what scares me more than their pass rush, though, is their secondary. Because if I look at the secondary, man, there's a lot of guys I see on here that are playing at a very high level so far in the season. Okay, Jalen Ramsey, we already know what he can do. He's been a great physical guy for like a long time now in the NFL, and he held Allen Robinson to only having 15 yards in the last matchup. So he's probably going to lock up, A-Rob to some extent. It's going to be hard for A-Rob to get anything going against this guy. Darius Williams, their other cornerback on the opposite side, he's having a breakout third year. He actually has 2 interceptions and a passer rating allowed of only 66. And according to PFF, he's been a top 20 cornerback so far this season, which is really surprising because a lot of Rams fans even did not think this guy was going to be as good as he has been to start the year. So a great year from Darius Williams. If you look at their safeties too, they have guys like John Johnson, Taylor Rapp, Jordan Fuller, who I think he was injured actually, so I don't know what the deal is with him, but they're all super young guys playing pretty well, covering pretty well too. They have a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism too in the secondary. So it's really going to be hard for Nick Foles and this passing offense to get much going against the secondary playing this well. Now I'll switch over to the Rams offense now. Let's see how the Rams offense is doing according to the stats. So the Rams offense is number 10 in yards per game. They average 388 yards per game. They're number 19 in points per game. They average 25.3 points per game. They're the number 15th passing offense and number 10 rushing offense. Now keep in mind, this offense likes to run the ball a lot. Okay, they're number 6 in rushing attempts per game. They run the ball 31.3 times per game, so that's a really high amount. They like to really run the football, have time of possession, keep the ball, out of Jared Goff's hands. Maybe not do that, but kind of help him out with the supplementary run game that really makes his job as a quarterback a lot easier. They're actually number 4 in yards per pass attempt in the NFL, so they average 8 yards per pass attempt, meaning that they have a lot of big plays, a lot of explosive plays going down the field. Now, one bad thing though about their offense is that they're number 20 in the red zone, so they only score a touchdown 61% of the time. So even though they are getting down the field with ease, they're not necessarily scoring at such a high level. Now, if I take a look at how Jared Goff has been doing so far this year, he's actually been doing pretty decent to begin the year. So he has 1,570 passing yards, 10 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a passer rating of 101. So according to the numbers, man, he has been one of the top quarterbacks to start the year. But you also have to look at like some of the competition he's been facing off against, okay? Because the NFC East, not really the best teams to play. So we have to keep that in mind when looking at his numbers. But overall, you know, he has been having a pretty decent start right now because he does have a good run game and a good offensive line too, okay? And a lot of great targets to throw to as well, okay? Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Reynolds, they all have over 200 receiving yards, and every single one of them at least has one reception of 40 plus yards, which is ridiculous, okay? All these guys have been able to make big plays going down the field, which has really given this Rams offense a lot of variety and a lot of unpredictability as well, okay? All the targets are not going to just one guy. It's very well balanced, very spread out, so that's really good for this passing offense. And if I look at the tight end also, Higbee, I mean, he's been one of the best tight ends so far in the NFL. He has 222 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's also been a really great blocker too. So we haven't faced that many good tight ends so far as a defense. So it's going to be interesting to see if our defense can actually contain Tyler Higbee. Now, if I look at the run game they have also, you know, the run game has been top 10 and they like to run the football a lot. So if I look at this Rams rushing attack, it's mainly Darrell Henderson who has most of the yards. So he has 348 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Pretty decent yards per carry too. But the 2 guys behind him as well, you know, Brown and Akers, they also have 300 combined rushing yards and, you know, 2 rushing touchdowns. But more than that, they've been really nice change of pace back so far, okay? Akers has not been involved that much, but Brown, he's been a key part of this Rams offense, okay? They have a power run game, so they like to really bully teams, run the ball down your throat if they can. That's what they tried to do against the 49ers last week, and it actually worked, but for some reason, Sean McVay just completely went away from it. So if they're able to get the run game going early against us, they are going to stick with it probably this time, because that's how you really wear out a team, a defense like ours. Last thing I want to talk about is going to be the offensive line, because man, this team has a solid offensive line. They're opening up a lot of holes for the running backs, buying a lot of time also for Jared Goff. Andrew Whitworth, their left tackle, has been the top tackle in the entire NFL so far, according to PFF, not really allowing many pressures or sacks. So Khalil Mack, man, he's going to have his hands full going up against a tackle like this. They also have guys like Austin Blitt, Rob Havenstein, you know, Austin Corbett, who are also pretty solid guys on the offensive line. So it's going to be a tough test for our defensive line to see if they can actually, you know, win these battles against this pretty great offensive line. Moving over to the Chicago Bears, let me start talking about their stats now. How are they looking? And let me start talking about the offense. First of all, just get it out of the way because I don't want to talk too much about this putrid offense right now. So they're number 28 in yards per game. We have 312 yards per game. Number 27 in points per game, 21.3 points per game. We're the number 23 passing offense, the number 28 rushing offense. We're number 28 in yards per play. We only average 4.8 yards per play. So we have really struggled getting, you know, a lot of things going down the field, getting these big explosive plays. They have just not been there yet for this offense. We're number 29 in rush attempts. So we really have not been able to balance this offense at all. We're only running the ball 23.3 times per game, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I get that we've been coming from behind a lot of these games, so obviously you are going to pass more, but you have to try to balance out this offense, otherwise it's just not going to work. Okay, and Matt Nagy has said so many times, okay, I'm not stupid. I know that we have to run the ball. Well, then why don't you do it? Okay, so we have to run the ball a lot more because we're number 5 in pass attempts right now. 39.7 times per game we pass the ball, which is just, that's not a good way to help out your new quarterback, Nick Foles. I think a lack of a run game is really what's doomed Nick Foles as well, because not having a proper run game is why we can't run a lot of play action and stuff that Nick Foles usually succeeds with, you know, based on his prior NFL experience. Okay, in Philadelphia, he used to really like running that play action back when they had, you know, a pretty decent run game. And we just cannot do that right now because there's no threat of any of our running backs actually running the football. We only average 3.9 yards per carry, so you can't do that much with that, okay? Teams are not having to stack the box. There's not stuff open down the field because we are not running the football effectively. Now, a lot of that does have to do, though, with our putrid offensive line, okay? I mean, I cannot believe that this offensive line now, in some ways, it's even worse than what it was last year, okay? Because if we look at what they're doing on the ground, okay, opening up holes for David Montgomery, there's not been any holes for David Montgomery to run through over the past 3 games. I get that, you know, the Bucks and the Colts, they were 2 of the top run defenses, so I guess you get a pass for that. But against Carolina, they're a bottom 10 run defense. We could barely run the ball at all against them, and our offensive line could not block for anything. So I really lost a lot of faith in this O-line over the past few games, even though I didn't have much to begin with. I mean, at least they were doing better at the beginning of the season, but ever since, you know, James Daniels went down, it's been a complete clown show from our offensive line. I mean, all across the board, all these guys are bottom 15 at their position in pressures allowed. All of them, okay? Charles Leno, he's been a bottom 10 left tackle. Bobby Massey has been bottom 15. Cody Whitehair's been having the worst year of his career so far. He's been allowing the second most pressures out of any center in the NFL, so that worries me a lot. And I just don't have a lot of faith in this O-line right now. And it's honestly why Nick Foles and the rest of this offense has struggled so much. Moving over to something more exciting, let me start talking about the Bears defense now, okay? The fearsome Bears defense, it's been really rounding out into 2018 form over the past few games. So we're number 7 now in yards per game allowed. We allow 337 yards per game. We're number 7 in points allowed. We allow 19.3 points per game. We're number 10 against the pass, number 14 against the run. But some of the most important stats on this defense are that we're number 2 on third down. So we only allow third down to be converted 31% of the time. And we're also number 1 in the red zone. We only allow a touchdown 36% of the time in the red zone. Those are ridiculous numbers. Those are elite numbers. And also, over the past few games, our run defense has been a lot better too. So we've actually been the number 5 run defense in the NFL over the past 3 games, only allowing 3.7 yards per carry, even going up against some pretty good running backs like Mike Davis and, you know, Ronald Jones. And our pass rush also has been, you know, really rounding out into form over the past few games because we have 7 sacks over the past 2 games. We have terrorized both Tom Brady and Teddy Bridgewater. I think the number 1 strength on this defense right now is the secondary by far, okay? Even though it's a defense that features Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Akeem Hicks, I still think the strength of this defense lies in the secondary because practically every single member of the secondary has been playing at such an elite level to begin the year, okay? Kyle Fuller has been the best cornerback in the NFL by a lot of different metrics, okay? Passer rating allowed, completion percentage allowed, by all of them, he's been the best cornerback in the league. Jalen Johnson has been also top 10 by a lot of different metrics, even though he did have a down game against the Carolina Panthers. He's still been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL so far, which is just absolutely ridiculous because this guy is a rookie, okay? He's 21 years old. He's my age, okay? And he's dominating against other, like, really good receivers in the league. So both Jalen Johnson and Kyle Fuller, they've been playing at an elite level so far. And if I look at the safeties, man, I mean, Eddie Jackson, he's not even targeted anymore because teams are scared to throw his way. But in the limited targets he's gotten, he's been the best covered safety according to completion percentage allowed. So the few times teams have thrown his way, it's not worked out at all. And he also has 2 touchdowns that the dumb referees called back. So, I mean, Eddie Jackson has been playing at such a high level so far. Deshaun Gibson as well. I mean, this dude has 2 interceptions. He's been INT machine so far. He's been making a lot of plays on the ball too. So he's been a very good pickup on this Bears defense, covering at a very elite level, also helping out in run defense too. So he's been a really great strong safety next to Bojack. And overall, you cannot pass against the secondary, especially with how the pass rush also is playing over the past few games. Okay, Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Akeem Hicks, they've been having great games over the past, you know, winning streak that we've had. So in many ways, our defense is actually becoming a better defense than it was in 2018. Okay, obviously I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit because we don't have the numbers yet to prove that, but I think we are headed that way because we have certain players on our team right now that are upgrades over what we had in 2018. Okay, Jalen Johnson so far is proving to be an upgrade over Prince Amukamara. Robert Quinn, he's been an upgrade over Leonard Floyd. So if we can continue to gel together, play well, I mean, we're going to be a problem for opposing offenses. With all that said, let me start talking about some of the matchups now in this game. Okay, so what are the biggest matchups? Who do we have to look out for? Which matchups favor the Bears? Which matchups favor the Rams? And probably one of the biggest matchups, obviously, is going to be Aaron Donald versus the Bears interior offensive line, okay? And this matchup really does worry me because our offensive line, specifically the interior as well, has been playing at such a poor level over the past few weeks. I mean, we don't have a solid replacement yet for James Daniels, because if I look at how Coward played in the last game, I mean, I don't see how you can suit him up again, because he had a terrible game, low effort, not really blocking anybody. He was on the ground half the time. So Coward has been trash. Alex Bars, when he played against the Bucks, he was pretty bad as well. So maybe Ryan Pace makes a trade or signs somebody, but if that doesn't happen, I mean, I don't see how the guard position isn't going to be a position of, insane weakness for us with James Daniels gone. So Aaron Donald definitely knows this. He's going to know to pick on Coward or Bars or whoever's in there at left guard. He's going to try to attack that side of the line. So the Bears as a unit, they're going to have to try to stop that, okay? Stop that from happening, okay? So double up Aaron Donald practically every snap. That's going to be a must. Make sure you have the adequate protection and try to run plays also away from him, okay? So get stuff going, maybe like a rollout or something. Now, even though, Nick Foles, he's probably not the most mobile guy, you're going to have to try to get some motion going in the backfield, get the quarterback rolling away from him, and maybe call plays away from his side of the line, because if we don't do that, he's going to blow up every single play. My next big matchup is going to be David Montgomery versus the Rams front seven. If the Bears want to have any success in this game, they're going to need to run the ball effectively from the very beginning and throughout the entire game, okay? I don't expect the Bears offense to really pass the ball that well going down the field. So the only way we can really move the ball, or at least, keep Nick Foles on the field and not have him taking shots every other play, is going to be to run the football pretty often throughout the entire game, even if it's not working, okay? So I think that's something that Matt Nagy realizes to some extent, I hope. You never know with Matt Nagy, because this dude hates to run the football for some weird reason, but he's going to have to find a way to run the football and do it often. Otherwise, I don't see how Nick Foles is even going to stay on the field with how many shots they've been allowing him to take over the past few games. When you have a guy like Aaron Donald as well with 7.5 sacks, that really does worry me. So give Monty the ball early, give Monty the ball often, try to run plays maybe away from Aaron Donald. So maybe do more outside zone, even though outside zone has really not been working so far. You're going to have to try to do it over and over again until it hopefully works, because that's probably the only way we're going to move the ball down the field against this great defense. And Monty, man, he's going to have to fight also for every single yard. He's going to have to break some tackles. He's going to have to play the game of his life, but I think he can do it, okay? He does have the talent, but it's going to be a lot on him. And the last matchup I want to talk about is going to be the Bears pass rush versus Jared Goff. This is probably the biggest matchup of the game for the Chicago Bears, and the most favorable matchup too, because like we have seen in the past, if this Bears pass rush can get pressure over and over and over again every single snap and confuse them with their coverages, it's going to be a wrap for the Rams offense. Jared Goff, he's going to throw some picks. He's going to get sacked. He's going to not really have a good day, because Jared Goff under pressure is a terrible, terrible quarterback, especially against guys like Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks. I think he said last year that Khalil Mack is his least favorite player to play against in the NFL. We have to make sure that stays the same, okay? I expect them to double up Khalil Mack pretty often, probably put a chip block on him too pretty often, because they're going to do anything they can to slow him down, but that's going to leave a lot of one-on-one matchups on the other side of the line for Robert Quinn. So this should be hopefully a big game for Robert Quinn, because going up against a guy like Jared Goff, an immobile guy that struggles against pressure, that's going to be an opportunity to feast for this Bears pass rush. So put your hands up often, get pressure in his face, and we should, force Jared Goff into making some pretty dumb throws. All right, guys, with all that said, let me get to my prediction now for this game. Who do I have winning this game? And I have the Chicago Bears going into LA on Monday Night Football and beating the Los Angeles Rams by a score of 13-10 in LA. Okay, 13-10. It's going to be a low-scoring defensive showdown, a game that a lot of people are going to call boring. But if this game actually happens, if it is indeed a low-scoring battle to the tune of 13-10, I mean, I'm going to be enthusiastic, because I love watching good defense. I don't know about you guys, but I love watching a low-scoring defensive showdown and a lot of great defense played on both sides, which is really what's probably going to happen, okay? I don't see how both offenses are going to move the ball effectively against the opposing defenses, okay? Both the LA Rams and the Chicago Bears have superstar talent on defense, okay? The Rams have Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, two of the best defensive players in all of football. The Bears also have guys like Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Kyle Fuller, some of the best guys on defense in the entire NFL. So I think both defenses are going to terrorize the opposing offenses, but I have the Chicago Bears coming out on top because of turnovers, okay? I think the Bears defense has proven in the past that they can force a lot of turnovers against this Rams offense, like they did in both 2019 and 2018. I think in 2019, I don't remember exactly, but we had at least 2 turnovers in that game, and obviously we know what happened in 2018. I mean, Jared Goff threw 4 picks in a single game. So if it's anything like that, I mean, I think Jared Goff is going to struggle again like he has so far in his career against the Bears defense. I just don't see how, going up against guys like Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Robert Quinn, how he's going to have a clean pocket at all, even though the Rams offensive line has been pretty good. So I think Jared Goff is going to turn the ball over more than Nick Foles, and ultimately that's going to be the reason why the Rams lose the game in the end. And I also trust Cairo Santos now to make some crucial kicks to win us games if need be. My offensive MVP for this game, even though I don't think it's going to be a pretty game at all for the Bears offense, is actually rookie wide receiver Darnell Mooney, okay? I've been looking at Darnell Mooney's film over the past few weeks, and he's been getting open pretty consistently against practically everybody, okay? He's open pretty often throughout the game, and the few times we've given him the ball, he's really made plays on the ball. He doesn't have a single drop yet during his rookie season, so I think he's going to have 70 receiving yards and a touchdown too, and he's going to be big throughout this game because he's the one guy that really has the speed to get going deep against this Rams secondary, a Rams secondary that has been pretty good so far. My defensive MVP for this game is going to be Robert Quinn. I already talked about this earlier. I think that with Khalil Mack getting doubled up, it's going to leave a lot of one-on-one matchups for Robert Quinn, and with the guy like Jared Goff that really has not done well against the Bears pass rush over the past 2 years, I think Robert Quinn is going to join in on the fun. He's going to have 2 sacks and a forced fumble as well, and overall be a monster all night long. But yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps up my video. It's going to be a fun matchup. I cannot wait for Monday night to get here because watching Bears games this year is just so damn fun, okay? Being at 5-1 right now, I mean, don't take that for granted at all because over the past decade, really, I mean, I've seen a lot of bad Bears teams in my time being a Bears fan. So winning all these games, man, don't take it for granted. Really enjoy every single day of it. Big shout out to all my Hall of Fame members on my YouTube channel. I appreciate all of you guys so much. So Wyatt Freiberger, Keith Luckett, Stacks, Michael Horwitz, ACG, Ryan Pass, Scotty McLean. Big shout out to all of you guys, man. You guys are the best. And if you want to become a member, there's a link down below in the description box, which you can join to get some other benefits as well. But otherwise, guys, that'll be it. Leave your thoughts down below. And as always, bear down.